right, guys. Great to see you. Thanks for being here today. Typically when I do this, I talk for a long time. Today, I actually took some notes. If you don't mind, I kind of like to read from them, so my eyes may go down a little bit. I don't normally like to do that when I speak publicly, but I think there's some important things that I need to say moving forward here that our players, our fans, and everybody that loves our program, kind of needs to hear. And I was thinking about as we move into the last 2 weeks of the season and into the ACC tournament, I think it's important for our team and our fans to continue to understand how we have to play to be successful now and in the future. And that goes back to really to identity. It can't just be 4 or 5 guys. It's got to be everybody, every game. Several of the toughness areas that happen throughout the game need to improve. And we got to grab 50-50 balls. I know you hear me say that all the time, but those are game-changing plays, and those are plays that get your team excited and pumped up. We got to sprint back on defense no matter what happens on offense. You got to have a next play mentality. And I think sometimes our players, and it's not just this team, it's teams I've coached in the past, have a hard time having a next play mentality when something maybe didn't go right to play before. And you can't do that in basketball. You got to have a short memory. We got to be physical and put our chests on people defensively. We got to stand in and take charges when we're in the gaucho, and we can't, give up the basket on a drive. These types of things are energy plays that sparks our team. They're game-winning plays, and we got to make more of them. When we do, we give ourselves a great chance to win, and we've seen that really throughout the season. When we don't make those type of plays, it's deflating, and it costs the team. And I think probably you saw some of that against NC State where we didn't make a 50-50 play, and they know how important it is, and they're trying to do it, and they want to do it, and then it doesn't happen. I think it can also be deflating when it doesn't happen. It's the ACC, and we don't make those plays, teams are going to make us pay, and that's what's happened. We've struggled to guard the ball at times this year, so we got to be connected and shrink the court as much as possible. When we are connected in the gaps, we're pretty good. We can turn defense into offense and generate baskets. And when we struggle sometimes to get easy baskets, and so that helps us. Even though we opened the second half against NC State and got 3 layups on a half-court offense. But at times we've been really good in that area of shrinking the court and being in the gaps, and we've made it hard for our opponents to score. That's our winning formula, and we got to collectively dig in and defend. We have to play offense the right way. It's important. Up until the NC State game, we had doing a lot better job, as you guys know, of limiting our turnovers, and that had been a problem. I think we cut our turnovers by 4 per game the previous 7 games compared to our first 6. But we have to share the ball and work to get each other open shots, whether that be driving and kicking, screening, or cutting for each other. All this kind of goes into playing to our standard and our identity. At Florida State, you can see us connected and believing in each other like many of our previous games. When we're really good, we have enormous amount of fight and grit to play hard, and we have the urgency to execute at a high level. But that can't just be when our shots are going in, when things are going bad. You got to dig in every possession, no matter what happened. Typically my teams have played this way. And I went back and looked the other night. I think last year we won 9 games by scoring 70 or less because we just were committed to being a great defensive team. It starts with defensive rebounding and having the toughness to finish possessions and then grind the game out. For whatever reason, we didn't have that this past week, and we got to embrace the grind every game. We have to be a team connected on both ends and sustain good play for longer stretches of time. We don't got to play perfect. We got to play better. We all have to look in the mirror, me included, and I do it every day. And I tell my players that every day. And I tell my team all the time, the man in the glass, he never lies, that person looking back to you. So we got to clear our head. We got to get refocused on who we are as a team and how we have to play to win. And I think, there's always schematic issues. There's always basketball issues. And we talk about a lot of those things, how to play offense, technically play defense. But I think the core of the issue today and moving forward this week and moving forward in the future is what I just said. So after that, I'll open it up for questions.
Steve, I guess those are all things that you've said throughout the season, but what is it about today that made you want to reiterate kind of all that stuff in bulk to fans or
Yeah, because it's not going to change, and you sometimes when you go through a tough time, you look for a magic potion or a magic play or a motivational speech, and those things are all great, but the reality of it is you have to go back to the basics and be who you are, and that's the winning formula. It's not something I made up. My guys are funny. I love them. We went to North Carolina a long time ago. I went to the night before the game. They went to the Dean Dome, and there's this big sign, I guess, at the Dean. I call it the Dean Dome or the Smith Center. It says, "Play hard, smart together." Right? And I always say that. Right? My players are sending me pictures. Coach, they stole this slogan from you. I say, no. I didn't make that up. And so I think it's just that listen, and this is what I believe. When things are going hard and they're tough, you gotta know who you are, man. You gotta dig in. You gotta have your identity. That never changes. And the great teams, that's what they do. You know what I mean? They don't. It really doesn't matter what offense or defense you're running. They know who they are, and they don't wilt. They continue to pound away, and I think my team these guys are trying, man. Don't get it twisted. There ain't no give up in them. I mean, they come every day. They come hard. They went hard yesterday. It's just, I think, reiterating what we got to do to win.
Coach, in what ways have you spent the last few days trying to build up your team and morale after the last few losses to ensure they can have that kind of fun nature and give as much as you want them to?
I think talking to them individually, and not always as a team. Like I had Isaiah Musius over to my house on Sunday. I think he's a tremendous leader. I really appreciate him. And I think he has a good heartbeat for the team. I think there's I texted called most of the players after the game on Saturday to let them know how much I care about them, how much I love them, how much I believe in them. It's easy to do that when you're winning. That part's easy. It's when you're down is when you got to tell somebody you really care about them, and you believe in them. And so, and I know it's a tough loss because I know the tension of a rivalry, and how the fans feel and the people that love the program, but the kids got to understand that their coach loves them. And so that's basically what I've been doing.
Steve, have you gotten to have the team over to the house like all together? Or like, I guess, how have you kind of approached trying to have something like that with Isaiah?
That's really hurt me. It's really hurt the development of our team. Because I'm a big believer in that, and my wife, and so is my entire family. That's what we've done. The 30-some years I've been a coach. When I was, I should say, broke and poor, and just starting out as the head coach at Southwestern Community College, we didn't have pregame meals. We didn't have meal money, so the players would put in $1 every morning on Saturday, and they'd come to my house, and my wife and I would make as many pancakes as we could for them to have something to eat before the game. I mean, I'm used to doing stuff like that. And no, I can't. I wanted to do something at Super Bowl Sunday. I finally got my basement refinished, and I really did that, finished it just so the players have a place for them to come and hang out. And I haven't been able to do that yet. It just can't because of the restrictions. And so, can I have one guy over or 2 or 3? Yeah, I can do that. We get tested all the time. So, and that's why I chose to have Isaiah come over.
When you do cook, is it you or Janetta who's preparing the meal?
What does it look like? Does I look like a cook? I look like an eater. All right. I don't make anything. Now, I've been known a long time ago to warm up a can of soup, and I've been known to make Chef Boyardee spaghetti. that my parents used to make, right? In the green box. You know what that is? That's it. I don't do any cooking. My wife is big time. She's the best. And she does all of that. And she grills. I don't grill either.
Coach, it sounds like in the things you talked about today, in the past, you've been willing to juggle lineups and to embrace different strategies and different avenues to get guys open. But in the end, using various strategies, the identity is the identity no matter what, it sounds like. Am I looking at that right?
You're right. I mean, and that doesn't mean that we won't do that again, right? I mean, that's not – I'm always willing to change, Les. I think you've seen that from the beginning to now. And I'm not we'll play a different offense, different sets, might try some zone, might switch, may not switch, may hedge, may not. Like against NC State, we tried to flat hedge in the first half and keep our matchups, but the guards were getting clipped in the ball screen. So we had to hard hedge, which meant we had to have a stronger gaucho, which meant we're kind of sucked in a little bit more before to guard the basket, before they, get out to the shooters, on and on and on. We'll do those kind of things, but really ultimately, I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm glad you asked that is, no matter what offense or defense you're running, you still have to play hard, smart together. You still have to share the ball. You still have to be gritty, grimy, tough on defense. You still have to rebound the ball and grab 50-50 balls with two hands, and you have to execute. And when you do those things, I've worked for some great coaches. I've been around some great teams, and I've coached some myself. And this is to me is the secret sauce, right? Is that. And we have it, we just don't have it consistently, and we don't have it consistently with everybody, and in basketball is a team game. It's not an individual game, and everybody's got to be on the same page with those kind of things.
Steve, I'm curious if the opening was for us, or if that's something that you also shared with the team or will share with the team.
Yeah, well, you caused it. You asked me the question yesterday, and it wasn't something that I wasn't not thinking about, right? But it sparked me to put some thought to it, right? And so I sat down last night. I had a busy night, but I took some time to really think about it. And it's yes, I'm gonna share it with the team, and for the simple reason is this: I don't know how much they pay attention to what I say to the media. I've asked them that before, and I've kind of got mixed results. Sometimes I think coaches, you try to send a message through what you say, right? But then you don't know who's listening. So I think for sure I'm going to start practice off today with this. Now they know it and they've heard it in bits and pieces, but they need to hear it again. And they need to also, again, hear how much I care about them. And they really don't, because they know it, because they come in every day. That's the other part of, being in this program is they got to check in the office every day before 1:00. And the great thing about that is, again, it's easy to do it when you win. It's hard to do it when you lose. You want to hide. You want to not come see the coach, but when I make them laugh and when they smile when they're coming in here, and I get a chance to sit with Odie yesterday for 10 or 15 minutes and visit with him, and Blake Buchanan, those are special. Those are moments that you need. And so, but Connor, I'll give you credit. You asked me that yesterday, and I was thinking about it going into it, but it's only 10 minutes, so I can't really say a whole lot, Connor. So I thought, well, I'll give you a little bit more today. And so that's what that's about.
I appreciate that, but I don't want any credit.
That's all right.
Coach, in general, how would you say practice was yesterday?
It was really good. We watched a lot of film. We watched NC State, and we just watched the turnovers. I wouldn't say it was a real positive film. As far as just feeling good about it. But I think in film you gotta learn from your mistakes. And so we watched all the turnovers, watched all the defensive transition issues, And we watched all the times that we blew a switch or got caught in a ball screen. And they know, they understand. And then we watched Clemson. I cut out kind of some of the things I normally do in practice to start practice. I'm a real big believer. I like to pop or fatigue my team early in practice, like a game, to get them to learn to fight through that. Yesterday was pretty much all 5-on-5, and we went live from the get-go, and it was very good. And it'll be better today. One thing I've always noticed with scouting is the day you put it in compared to the next day and the day after that, it just gets better and better each time they do it to get more comfortable with what they're defending. And we spent a lot of time on defense yesterday.
Coach, since you spend a lot of time one-on-one with your players, when do you get to the point where you talk about, especially with guys like Jalen and the grad transfers, hey, are you looking to be here for the summer and be here for another year if you want to be?
Yeah. I've always handled that when the season's over, and they know that, so I made it very clear, not just to them, but everybody in the program, coaches included, that I always have individual meetings with the players, after the season. So that'll be shortly after the last buzzer goes off. I'll take a day or two to prepare, and then I'll start to meet individually with every player in the program. And then I'll meet individually with every coach. And that's the way I've always done it. I don't think now is the time to do that. And I don't think the kids want to do it either, really. I think the players want to wait till it's over. And then, you sit down and you have an adult conversation. Now I haven't changed that. That's just something I've always done, since I've been a head coach, is I've always addressed those things at the end of the year. And I don't wait either. I don't let it go a month or a couple, 3 weeks or whatever. I take a couple days, I get ready, and then we have those meetings.
Clemson's a team that attacks you with some pressure defense, and they're towards the top of the conference in terms of forcing turnovers.
Yep.
How do they attack teams defensively like that? And then how well do you think your team is suited to approach that now, especially with the Ian back in the mix?
Well, they played a little bit slower pace than NC State, Carolina, or Duke. Okay. So it's not as up tempo as, not that they wouldn't run, but I think that helps a little bit. They will pick up full court a little bit man to man, but I don't see them trapping a whole lot. But we really truthfully haven't had a problem with that, since Ian came back. They're very physical in the half court. Them and Virginia Tech, I'd say, are probably the two most physical defensive teams in the league. And so we got to be able to handle that, right? We got to be able to handle the physicality. And that's what teams have been doing to us, after we sliced up Florida State, and they switched a lot. As you saw, Duke came in here and was physical with us on the cut, physical with us on the screen. Same with NC State. And, really the only person is really maybe Davian and Ian are really the only players that probably have drawn a foul on cutting, and so we got to be more physical, in those areas, and be more tough-minded, like I'm talking about, getting to your spot to catch the ball so we can do the things we need to do offensively to be successful. I think we can score on them, but we got to be tough-minded to execute and get to our spots and not get knocked off our spots. And some of that comes back, like Carter. I mean, he hasn't had the chance to to really be in the weight room. And I think that's pretty apparent sometimes when you're seeing him try to get to his spot. The great ones in the NBA, they get to their spot, no matter what the defense is, they're going to get there. And so I think that's something that we have to really concentrate on offensively. And maybe because they don't pick up as much full court, maybe we'll be able to run a few more sets. We haven't been able to run a lot of sets because the game against Duke and NC State, even Florida State, they picked up, and you don't have enough time to get through to the half court. All right, run play number 2, and then they take it away, and now all of a sudden you're at 9 seconds on the shot clock, and that's bad. So we'll see. Maybe I'm preparing. Hopefully we can run a few plays. We ran the first play of the game against NC State, and we laid it up. It's just a matter of being able to do it.
Is it just me, Steve, or is your team trying to be a bit more opportunistic on transition in the last couple of weeks?
Not just you. That's very what's the word I want to use? Observant. Yes, I've let them of giving them more freedom to push. Because, Les, we need some easier baskets. And listen, it's not November, in October when we had 30 in a scrimmage, and I went home and I don't know, I was contemplating ending my life. We have to play that way. Plus adding Ian in the mix helps, right? With the handling. And so, and then, some teams are like us. They're not always great about getting back on defense either. And so we got to take advantage of that and get some easier baskets. So yes. And that also helps flowing into motion. You get more time to play, right? Than just, all of a sudden you got 20 seconds on the shot clock. We got a little bit more time. So yes, that's something we have talked about over the last couple of weeks.
Coach, have you had conversations with the league about what happened last Wednesday night?
Yeah, we talked and, visited about it and then moved on. And that's what you do in those situations. You talk about it with the league officials, and then, you move on to the next game, and that's all you can really do.
Were they interested in talking to you, or were you interested in talking to them for an explanation for what happened?
Oh, those things are always kind of both. I mean, they'll typically, what my experience has been, that they'll reach out to you, and that's what happened. And it was very, I was very pleased with the conversations, and then we moved on.
Steve, as far as playing two teams that are going to be, coming off breaks, or coming off, some cancellations. I don't know, just trying to keep a team ready for the potential for a game to get pushed, or just trying to keep your schedule fluid.
Yeah.
Do you feel pretty confident about doing that at this point in the season?
Yeah.
And how do you approach it?
It's funny. I've never talked about it because we haven't had it happen to us, and I've never felt like going into any game we were playing that we weren't going to play. We weren't really on the bubble on that. We haven't, and so, and I don't think, considering what we've been through, there's a very minimal chance it's going to be us. Okay. And so I've just went full bore. Like, I haven't really even, I didn't think for 1 second that we weren't going to play Clemson, or Virginia Tech. And I just don't want to be the get well game. We got to make them pay for that, and we've all kind of been through it in our own different ways. Right. And that's the thing about COVID. We talked about this a long time ago. It seems like forever now that, everybody has a different experience, and how many guys are out, how many, Mike Young talked to me, I think last week. He had like 6 people he could practice, and I said, well, that's 6 more than what I had, when we kind of went through it, so I don't know what Brad's situation was at Clemson, but we've all kind of went through it, every one of us, this year. And so, Ethan, I haven't really ever brought it up with the team because I've never really had that feeling going into the game that we weren't going to play. The only time really probably maybe was, at the beginning when you didn't really know, like how's this going to work? But I think, we got a pretty good feel now that the remainder of our games are probably going to be played.
I'll ask you one more. You mentioned Carter earlier, and I remember kind of earlier in the season, you said that like an early enrollee like that was a product of the year more so than something that's going to be established down the road.
Yeah.
Would that be something that you'd enjoy? Like, maybe it wouldn't be the whole recruiting class coming in early, but if you could get a guy to come in early, would you like that, to be able to do that regularly?
Yeah. I mean, I think that'd be great. But you have to remember they're not going to get that year back though, and that changes their mentality a little bit, right? This year's mentality was, well, why not? We're not playing high school basketball. Probably some of these places aren't even playing, or abbreviated year. Why don't I just go to college and start playing? And it doesn't even count against me, and I start over as a freshman. My guess is from here on forward, it'll be like it always was, where, you're going to use a year if you play. that doesn't mean you have to play. I mean, really, truthfully, the plan early on for Carter was not to play. You know, it was just to come in and practice and lift and get yourself acclimated to, you know, the ACC practices and what it takes to be a great player. And so if I had a scholarship, would I do that? Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You know, we'll have to see if we have one. You know, typically, you know, you can't play 13 guys. So, you know, sometimes you do like to have a scholarship, you know, for Christmas. I don't know if it'll be that way this year or not. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But, you know, in the past, I can probably go back through it, especially at places like Wichita State and Tennessee and A&M. We probably pick somebody up at Christmas. Now, I don't think it was a high school player, you know, but it was a transfer. But if a really good high school player wanted to do that, yeah, I'd be very, very open to that.
Steve, on the coaches show last night, you mentioned you had a karaoke machine at your place, and that other people are singing songs, but you're not. You said you haven't sang publicly in decades. Is that true? You're not somebody who gets involved when the karaoke machine comes out?
That is very true. Because of, you know, we have, you know, these things right here, these phones, and then it gets videotaped, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm out there on Twitter world, and so, or Snapchat world, or Instagram world, whatever. I'm not doing that. And, you know, back when I sang in 1983, there was maybe, if you owned a VCR camera at that time, you were a millionaire. If you go back and look at the cost of what a VCR cost in 1983, you couldn't afford one. All right. And so I don't really want it out there, but I do enjoy people who like to do it or think they like to do it. And I get a pretty good kick out of it. It became a pretty good thing for our Halloween party, you know, and I kind of frowned on it when my wife went and bought the karaoke machine, but my son's a really good singer and my wife is, and, you know, so, you know, occasionally they like to get around that thing, but I've stayed away from it. You know, I could make an appearance on Ice Baby, Vanilla Ice, maybe, you know, rolling in my 5.0 with my rag top down so my hair can blow. I could do that maybe, you know, but, you know, we'll see. Ice Baby, you know, and I use that for an example with Manuel Pomo. When we were doing ice ball screens, he couldn't say ice, right? He just couldn't get it out of his mouth. He just didn't say it. So I told him to go home and look up Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby, and I made him sing that to himself over and over so he could say ice, ice, ice. And so sometimes the karaoke machine comes in handy in coaching.
All right. Anything else on that note?
Appreciate you guys.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thanks, guys.